We have 27 minutes.
Okay.
And in those 27 minutes, Sheila Andreen and myself, Warren Etheridge, why am I addressing myself in third person? We will discuss the state of the industry,
Okay.
positive things, takeaway action items for folks to get inspired, because you are the positive. You are the good cop. I'm the bad cop today, right? But first of all, just tell us about IndieFlix. In the last panel, I mentioned that IndieFlix has gone through more changes than Madonna has over the years.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is IndieFlix today?
IndieFlix is Vanity Fair meets Netflix of independent film. We are a subscription-based streaming service. It's $6.99 a month to stream thousands of films. You can stream from anywhere in the world, and 93% of our library, we have worldwide rights. We're on Xbox and Roku. This is the nuts and bolts version of what IndieFlix is. And that's basically what we are. How we are different than Netflix is that we pay filmmakers for every minute watched, and how we market and help the user discover your content is through editorial hooks and explaining to people why they should watch something and how much time is involved in order to watch it. As we grow, we'll build an algorithm that will help with more search and discovery and recommendations. But that's where we're at right now. And I'm a filmmaker, and I started IndieFlix out of pure frustration of my understanding of the world of distribution, which has vastly changed since we launched.
Wow. I love the analogy, except for the Vanity Fair part, because it's not for elitist snobs flying coast to coast.
You think
anybody can.
No. Well, we're not the Inquirer of independent film or the Star, but we're also not, The Economist or Harvard Business Review.
Okay.
I wanted something fun and sexy that gets into the meat and the DNA of stories, but isn't too tiresome to read, or that you have to feel like, you need an IQ of a certain level to read it.
It's the Entertainment Weekly.
There you go.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, we can agree on that. Okay. Now, you say you were frustrated as a filmmaker with distribution, and I know distribution is a panel all unto itself, right? And that's one that has come up a couple times already today, right? What is the secret to making distribution work beyond Hollywood today? Go.
I think, first of all, we need to, and I've been saying this all day long as I've been here, and so forgive me if you've already heard this, but I feel that my job right now is to help set reasonable expectations and to help filmmakers and storytellers manage those expectations. We need to think bigger and out of the box, and we need to stop wanting the old model because it doesn't work. Sorry.
Jesus.
We want the new model. No, I think it's really important to understand this. My grandmother always said this, and I have. I hated it when I was younger, but she'd say, everything you need, you already have. And I used to think, well, but I need $500 to go to Hawaii, and I don't have $500. And I used to just sort of look at it as very sort of superficial. Now I hear her words all the time, and I think about everything you need, you already have. And as storytellers and filmmakers, everything you need, you already have. And what I want to talk about, what I would love for you all to leave with, is an action item. I love when I go somewhere and when I walk out, I have an action item. I have something I can do, and I don't need to raise $100,000 to do it, and I don't need 1,000 friends to do it. I have an actual action item that starts the process. It gets us in motion. So that's what I would ultimately like to do in the next 23 minutes.
Less.
And
no, 23. It's very good.
So distribution, marketing, fundraising, writing and telling and developing your story, building an audience, it's like this now. It's not linear anymore. It's a different process. And so we need to just accept that fact now. Corporations, even for me as running a company, it is not about coming up with this great sort of model and then I can sit back and just watch it play out. It's no more factory line. Companies today, as well as individuals, have to be fluid and agile. We are constantly evolving. This is the new norm. Don't feel exhausted. Don't be tired by it. This is who we are now. This is how we have to be. So, did I answer your distribution question? I don't think it's just distribution anymore. If you're talking about distribution, that means you're talking about marketing, you're talking about fundraising. You've done several steps. You start distributing almost when you start making your movie.
So I agree with what you're saying, especially in the indie world, right? I was already uncomfortable with directors writing their own material, But now you're asking them to add about 7 more hyphens to
Well,
it.
but I think a director can work with a writer. I mean, you don't.
Right, but to know the marketing
You
and the
still need a
distribution.
team. Well, you still need a team. I'm not saying you as an individual have to do everything because that's not humanly possible. Even one person can't raise a child. It takes a village. So you have to have. If you're not a writer, get a great writer. If you can't operate the camera, get a great cinematographer, or a camera operator. If you don't compose music, get a composer. So absolutely build a team. Have a great team. But everybody needs to be thinking along the lines of, I'm so not a believer in I'm going to go raise $10 million to make my first feature, or I'm going to raise $2 million to make my first feature. Write your story, forget the budget, go out, do a Kickstarter or Indiegogo program or campaign, prove out what you want to create, get the feedback, be brave, put yourself out there. Another favorite saying I have that I live by is be bold and mighty forces will come. And I think that that's what it takes to be a filmmaker today, to be a storyteller or an artist, is we have to be bold, and we need each other to do this. So, raising the money through a crowdfunding program helps validate your product, your story, your project. And they also become the initial sort of core marketing, your cheerleaders, your ambassadors. They're going to help grow it. They don't want a DVD. They don't need to come to a cast and crew screening. They want to profit participate. So create a royalty pool that they can participate in too. You don't need to pay them top dollar to be part of it. They're going to have ownership. That's what crowdfunding is. It's emotional ownership. It's not about the money. So it's what I like to go around and talk about now is let's rethink what filmmaking is. Let's rethink about how we're going to share and tell our stories. The world is so inundated right now with devices and platforms and free, paid, ad. It's dizzying. I drown in it all the time. Fortunately, I'm blessed enough to travel the world and talk to some of the greatest people who are doing this. And I realize that just as every kid has its own path through schools and where they're going to go to college and what they're going to end up doing, every movie or story has its own path. And you have to just pay attention to that. Okay, I went off. Go keep going.
No, that's great. you travel around, you go to festivals, and you know a lot of filmmakers. You've seen a lot of success stories, and there are a lot of them out there.
Yes.
However, there are many, many more failures out there. What is the thing that separates those folks who've gotten up to the top high enough so that you actually meet them?
Well, I actually meet people. I think first you have to define what success is. Some people are not looking. I did a little talk in Dubai and met filmmakers, women from Lebanon and Tehran who had risked their lives to make their movies. They weren't looking to make money on their films. They wanted them out into the world. There are other people who made films that I didn't particularly think were great, and they made a ton of money. So, it's what is success? That's what's important that you want to define for yourself. I think there are a couple of standard things that work, and some of them are from old school, and some are definitely like the new standard, which is you should, right now, start creating, you should become a brand. You should have a network. You should have a fan base of some sort if you are in this sort of creative space, and you want people to experience your work, your art, your contribution. Start building that, because I'll tell you, I get studios call me and say, oh, what filmmakers have you got that have films in the queue, that are a brand, that have a network? Because we have a couple $1 million we'd like to invest in some content. And we'll even do split rights deals. And it's like, okay, well, this guy has 80,000 followers. He's got the website. So start cultivating that now, because you can't rush that and you can't buy it. So you want to build a meaningful audience, so you start doing that now. That is definitely something that I think separates those that have found great success, even on a mediocre movie or a content that isn't like universally appealing, but they found their audience and they built that audience. And I was talking in an earlier session about, even as an actor, build a fan base. You might actually go into a casting session and they know that you have this massive fan base and you're not really right for any part, but they're going to find a part for you, because you're going to help bring eyeballs and audience to that movie.
There's a difference between being a storyteller and being a brand. How does one maintain their integrity in that process?
I think that there isn't a difference. I think that brands now, from the highest level, are learning to tell their story so that their brand is in our DNA. I think that we as individuals have this ability to be a brand ourselves. We have so much power in that. I think it scares the studio system like crazy. I don't think there is a difference. I think that we are all here just unrecognized brands.
Such a charming notion. Hallmark will have a card for that, I'm sure. No, I guess why I'm saying this is, when I think about storytelling, I think about it as an art form in which our goal is to communicate to the world out there to prove that our universal message, our specific experience, is not different and that we're all together. And a brand seems like the opposite of that, something which isolates us and sets us apart as something different, special, or better.
See, I think I disagree.
All right. But why?
I think that, think about brands we love. Can someone name one or two brands we many people love? Windex. What? Windex. Okay, Windex. In fact, what?
Wow.
Apple, Old Spice. So Coke. Don't you sort of?
Okay. Rochelle, you have what? Is that you have your hand up?
Okay. So all of these brands, you may not know their story necessarily, but it plays a role in our life, right? Don't we go to Nordstrom's for a certain thing? I go there because they got valet parking. I don't feel like driving down in the Pacific Place. I know that I can get my favorite meal downstairs in the men's department. I know that I can go upstairs and find a bathing suit. Like, it plays a role in my life. It's a utility in my life, and it's safe, and they will take back anything without a receipt, right? So even if you've worn it. Apple is a lifestyle. You buy your Apple product and you feel good. I think that we as human beings we are brands. We just need to start talking about who and what we represent and the role and the utility that we play in other people's lives.
I think that there's something about elevating yourself as a brand which may take away from the universality and your ability to express yourself, right? I'm not saying that brands can't be art as well, although I can't name one, except for Windex. Yeah.
Kleenex.
I don't know. I mean, the stuff about Shakespeare is a broader question as to did he actually write them, but I'm going to assume he did. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt there. Is he a brand? Yeah, a brand in the sense of a recognized name that has stood up over
Did it devalue his ability to tell a universal story?
No, because he was a good writer. But I don't think he was on Twitter at the time.
Well, they had their own form of tweeting. I had a party in high school, and God, it got totally out of control, and we had a couple hundred people, and the police came. There was no Twitter or Facebook. There's teenagers.
It's a fascinating insight. I don't understand the...
Well, I'm just saying, there's always been a form of Twitter or Facebook or social networking. There's always been a way to send a message, I think Shakespeare was a brand. I don't concern...
I think there's
It's become a brand. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point, is that we as individuals, when I say we're undiscovered brands, if you are going to make a creative contribution in the world, you want to evolve you as an individual into a brand so that you have supporters, you have ongoing patrons, you have a fan base of value, because there's power in that. And you will be able to then release more of your art and help other people at the same time. Make money.
I'm curious because I think it's a fascinating question. I guess the distinction I would make is that I don't think he was proactively trying to create a brand for himself. He did great work which earned him accolades, which caused him to become a brand of sort, if we must, right? For myself, and I'm sure people might argue with me, I don't think I've ever been conscious of trying to build a brand for myself.
But you are a brand.
Right, but not by choice. By the.
But now you have a choice.
The public imposing something on you is different. Right.
The Warren Report is a brand.
It's catchy.
Yeah, there's familiarity or recognition. We can't all be celebrities. We don't want to, but a brand it feels more like, the reason I like to say brand is because it's a utility. I find brands to be utilities in our lives. If you think about like certain actors that have always played a certain type of role, and then they want to play something else. So they go and they play, like Mork and Mindy, but Robin Williams then played a serial killer in that
1 hour
photo. And it was like we all kind of got creeped out by it. I mean, it was really powerful. It was really good, but I think he lost a little bit of his fan base there because it was and then where do you cast him next? Because now everyone thinks of him as this, or John Lithgow and Dexter. I mean, he's established enough as a brand that he can go out and take those risks and come back and maybe then go play something like a truly good dad again. Although will we still think maybe he's not? But that's the brand recognition aspect that I sort of am referring to.
Go for it.
I think broadcast television is, this again, it was asked earlier, so if you've heard me say this, I think that a lot of the, from PBS to, all the channels are creating their own online access to their content. So, I mean, I kind of like group viewing. I like knowing that, Dexter on Sunday night, everybody's going to be watching. I don't want to be on Monday, not hear what everyone's talking about, and I missed it and have to tune out the world. But I think with binge watching and the ability to, not hear, the score, I guess, of the game, I think broadcast TV days are kind of numbered, just as the way of the DVD. I call it pure inundation. I mean, there's just so much out there. That's where the brand aspect comes in handy because it helps filter through all of the noise. And if you establish yourself as a trusted brand that has a certain quality to it and plays a certain role in other people's lives, they're going to find you. And you can build your audience from there.
Right.
Right.
And just as an aside, De Niro didn't do a lot of interviews because he's not really lucid. Just... It's true! Jeez.
I think you have to just write your story and take away money, running time, film festival. I just write your story. Write what you see. Write that movie. Keep the story clean. Then we can chop it up 10 different ways to serve it up.
God bless. As a co-founder of the film school, story is number one. It's hard enough to write a good story.
Yeah.
To think that you could also figure out a good story and how business works in the entertainment industry is mind-boggling. So work on the story first.
Just as fashion, they say, every 20 years it repeats itself. I think that the world as we know it is breaking apart, but it's just going to recreate again in the same way. It may not be the standard networks that we watch now, but we'll be watching on Google and Amazon and Netflix, and it'll all be streaming, and it'll be all on demand, and you can binge watch. So it's much more tailored and customized to what we want. But we're still going to go to like the main. There'll be the 3 to 5, and then it'll grow to 9 or something. Main platforms that we go to for our content, and we'll start. Those brands will serve up a type of content that we'll go to. And then until something new comes along that breaks that apart. And then, I just think that we need cues, lines, we need direction. We are, in many ways, we need that herd mentality because it's just so exhausting to always be sort of pioneering and cutting a path. It's nice to relax into something that's proven and there, but it's evolving. So while we're focused so much on everything breaking apart and falling apart, we really should also pay attention to all the things that are being created that are really wonderful, that we're going to enjoy immensely, and to view and experience all this content.
I would like to underscore, while there's some questions about how this stuff will be delivered, to keep in mind the idea of quality actually does rise to the surface. Everybody... tomorrow night, if they eventually, well, that's the point. Tomorrow night, people will run home and either watch or DVR the final episode of Breaking Bad, and great show, right? Almost as good as Windex. Breaking Bad, but keep in mind with that show, it took about 3 seasons before it became the phenomenon that it has.
And it almost got canceled if Netflix hadn't stepped in.
So I think there's something to artists doing what they do, not worrying about the medium, going forward and letting audiences find the quality, because audiences eventually will if it's actually out there.
So before we have to wrap this up, I really wanted everyone to be able to leave with an action item, like with something that they could do right away. Did we get to fulfill that in any way?
Visit indieflix.com, sign up for a membership today.
Oh. That would be awesome, actually.
That actually is important, though, because
It
if you
is
want to see
important.
more great art, more great films, you have
Yeah.
to support that which is out there.
Well, we have a really unique royalty payment system, so 30% of everything always is paid out to filmmakers. And, we have no middlemen in our model. It goes straight to the user. Goes straight to the filmmaker. So it's a model that we need to grow. It's a pay it forward model. So it's not a nonprofit like Join the Henry and you can go 3 times a year and still pay your annual. But this is, you can watch thousands of films. And so I would love for you all to become subscribers and filmmakers to submit. So
Was that the action item you wanted to leave them with, though?
no, the action item I think is, have a Facebook, have a Twitter, be authentic. Start sharing your reality. If you're writing a screenplay, talk about how you came to the Seattle Film Summit and you asked a question about, should I be thinking about this? And the answer is clearly no. Write the story. Share your experience with other people because they also want guidance. You're asking questions that they have those same questions. So you're going to help answer it. And you're going to start building a following. And that following will grow. And keep that conversation. And this following, if you're authentic, they're going to save your ass as well because they're going to tell you things before you get out on the big stage and fall flat on your face. Do the homework. It's free. It takes time, but it's free.
I'm going to give you an action item besides going to indieflix.com and signing up for a membership.
But that wasn't the action item. The action item was to start thinking about how to grow yourself as a brand.
And I would say that since so many people raise their hands as filmmakers and writers and artists out there, that the most important thing as an artist, the way to be authentic is to actually have some experience of the world. So while branding to me is very, very important, maybe put down the smartphone, ignore Instagram for a little while, don't photograph your last stool sample, and actually engage with other people, visit other places, come to understand other people, and share those experiences through the art you create. That's it. There we go. Thank you, Sheila
Thank you
Andrews.
so much.
So again, thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. I also, again, wanted to reiterate thank you to Northwest Film Forum for hosting us. Thank you for our sponsors on that beautiful Step and Repeat. I think they're on our program too. I wanted to give them a chance to speak, but we're running a little low on time. And my last note is that I don't like being serious, so I tend to goof off. But I'm going to have this is one moment of seriousness from Ben Andrews. And I want to tell you a little bit about my background because maybe some of you don't know what my background is. And really, in a nutshell, when I turned 30, I have no film background. I have no entertainment industry background. When I turned 30, I turned to my wife and I said, hey, I think I want to give this a try. It looks cool. You guys look like you have so much fun. Boy, I was wrong. But bottom line is, this was just a few years ago, and this is why I'm in love with the Washington State film community and Seattle, because I didn't have any background, and I went to people that I didn't know, and I said, hey, I'm interested in this. And we have so many open doors in this city. And so many wonderful people who are volunteering their time to come help educate us. And to reiterate what Sheila said, everything's evolving. I mean, we're in a state of evolution. All the old gatekeepers, they're leaving their gates. I mean, we're here to rediscover the film world. And I think Seattle can be a mecca of this new world. And I'm just going to encourage everyone to keep reaching out, keep plugging forward, and plug into the system. Because, as I said in the opening comments, all of our organizations are doing wonderful things, and I would hate to see people miss out on that. So expand your network. Find these brilliant people, because I just emailed them or Facebooked them and I said, hey, you want to come and have a meeting with me? And they're there for us. So anyway, I love you guys. I love Seattle Film. Let's go make magic. Thank you.